Born on a cool spring morning in 1938, in a small village surrounded by green-covered mountains in Denver, Eleanor Thompson was the youngest of 5 siblings. Her father, Henry, was a respected local craftsman known for his skillful hands that transformed wood into true works of art. Her mother, Maggie, took care of the home and garden, cultivating vegetables and flowers with equal dedication and affection. From an early age, Eleanor was involved in this world of simplicity and love, learning to appreciate the little things in life. Eleanor's childhood home was modest, but rich in love and joy. It was a home filled with music, with her father often playing the guitar in the evenings while the family sang along. These moments of unity and happiness laid the foundation for what would become Eleanor's emotional backbone throughout her life. As a young woman, Eleanor was adventurous and full of dreams. She excelled at school, especially in literature and history, developing a passion for storytelling that captured the imagination of everyone around her. Her curiosity and thirst for knowledge led her out of her small village in search of new experiences in the big city. At 20, she moved to the capital where she attended university, a rarity for women of her time and background. There, she studied history, a passion that would accompany her throughout her life. It was also in the capital that she met James, a young law student, with whom she shared a love for books, discussions about justice, and a desire to make a difference in the world. Their love quickly blossomed, and they married a few years later, beginning a life together that would be marked by challenges, but also by deep partnership and complicity. James and Eleanor built their family with the arrival of 3 children. The house was always full of laughter, heated debates about politics and literature, and the constant coming and going of friends and family. Eleanor devoted herself to her children's education, teaching them the value of knowledge, compassion, and justice. At the same time, she worked as a teacher, inspiring generations of students with her passion for history and her commitment to education. Over the years, as the children grew up and followed their own paths, Eleanor and James's home became a symbol of their journey together, filled with memories of a shared life, happy moments, and overcome challenges. Even after James's death, the house remained a beacon of love, history, and resilience for Eleanor, surrounded by her memories and the legacy of the life they built together. Now, Eleanor's mornings are marked by a palpable quietness. The once vibrant and lively house echoes with memories. Each room tells the story of a time that will not return. The walls decorated with family photos, the furniture worn by constant use, and James's personal library, with its shelves crammed with books on law, philosophy, and history, each marked by his annotations, are silent witnesses to a life shared in fullness. Eleanor spends her days in a meticulous routine, starting with caring for her plants, heirs to her mother's passion for greenery and growth. The garden, now more a refuge than a necessity, receives her daily attention, an attempt to maintain a connection with her roots and with James, who always encouraged her in her outdoor activities. Breakfast is made for 1. At the table, Eleanor looks at the empty chair across from her, increasingly aware of the silence that accompanies her. Conversations are now rare, limited to brief interactions with neighbors, polite greetings exchanged over fences or during solitary walks through the neighborhood streets, which have changed as much as she has. Phone calls from her children occur, but with a frequency that only underscores the distance and detachment from their everyday lives. They have their own families, challenges, and successes, in distant cities, in different countries, lives that Eleanor follows through photographs and stories told in video calls that, despite the joy they bring, also reinforce the sense of isolation. The afternoons are filled with reading and, occasionally, writing. Eleanor still keeps alive her love for history, now channeled into diaries and letters that are rarely sent. She writes about the past, about life lessons, about the moments that shaped who she is. It's an attempt to dialogue with the future, a way to pass on the stories she believes need to be told, even if she doesn't know who will read them. At night, the house closes in silence. Eleanor prepares her dinner, often opting for simple meals she shared with James, accompanied by the wine he so enjoyed. Seated at the dinner table, surrounded by empty chairs, she allows herself moments of reflection. The silence is a constant companion, interrupted only by the voices of the television news, a reminder of the external world that seems, with each passing day, more distant. The loneliness is palpable, but Eleanor finds comfort in the small routines, in the books, in the plants, and in the memories that populate her house. She clings to these memories as an anchor, a silent resistance against the tide of forgetfulness and indifference. On a typical afternoon, as Eleanor watered the flowers in her garden, a shadow fell upon her, not just literally, but also metaphorically. A representative from a large real estate corporation, accompanied by a lawyer, appeared at her door with news that would make her already solitude-shrunk world shake even more. They came with a proposal to buy her house, the house that had been the setting for her life with James and their children, a place filled with invaluable memories. The proposal, though significant in financial terms, carried with it a cold indifference to the emotional and historical value that the house represented for Eleanor. The land, they explained, was ideal for the development of a new luxury residential project, part of a larger effort to revitalize the neighborhood. Shaken, Eleanor refused the offer. However, this refusal marked the beginning of a series of visits, calls, and correspondences that ranged from persuasive to openly intimidating. The real estate corporation employed tactics that exploited her unfamiliarity with complex legal processes and her vulnerability as an elderly woman living alone. Insinuations of forced expropriation, promises of legal action, and the constant pressure to consider the offer became a dark presence in her daily life. The contrast between the respect and dignity Eleanor always cherished and the harsh reality of these interactions brought to light feelings of helplessness and indignation. Her home, a symbol of love, legacy, and resistance, was under threat not because of anything she had done, but because of a dispute she never wanted to be part of. In a particularly disheartening twist, Eleanor learned through conversations with neighbors that the corporation had employed similar tactics throughout the area, pressuring many to sell under conditions that barely considered the personal stories and community connections that would be lost in the process. Some families, facing their own battles against financial or legal difficulties, succumbed to the pressure. What hurt Eleanor the most was not just the threat to her home, but the erosion of the community she deeply valued. She watched, with increasing despair, the social fabric of her neighborhood being unraveled by forces that saw value only in terms of profit and development, disregarding the human and historical value. This episode marked a turning point for Eleanor. Facing injustice with newfound determination, she began to look for ways to resist, to protect not just her home but also the memory and legacy of a lifetime that she and James had built together. It was a fight that went beyond the material, touching the core of her deepest values about justice, community, and the importance of standing up for what is loved. Eleanor Thompson's fight against the real estate corporation quickly transformed from a personal battle into a matter of principle. Refusing to be intimidated or overcome by despair, she channeled her indignation into concrete actions, demonstrating a resilience and strength of character that surprised even those who had known her for years. Initially, Eleanor felt like a castaway in a storm, trying to defend her home without knowing where to start. But Eleanor's determination solidified when she decided to educate herself about her rights. She spent hours at the local library, reading about property laws, expropriation, and the rights of citizens against powerful corporations. Through this process, she discovered online communities and support forums, where she shared her story and learned from the experiences of others in similar situations. The support and encouragement she received were crucial in strengthening her resolve. The search for allies led her to seek out an old family friend, Daniel, a retired lawyer who had known James. Daniel, moved both by long-standing friendship and by the clarity of the injustice being committed, offered to help her at no cost. Together, they began to build a legal strategy to confront the corporation, armed with knowledge of the law and unwavering determination. Eleanor's struggle also caught the attention of the local community. Many neighbors, inspired by her courage, began to see their own situations in a new light. Community meetings were organized in her living room, turning her home into a center of resistance. These meetings became spaces of solidarity and planning, where community members shared information, offered mutual support, and discussed ways to protect their homes and neighborhood. A crucial moment in her fight was the decision to take her story to the media. Eleanor and her supporters contacted journalists and used social media to expose the pressure and questionable tactics of the real estate corporation. Eleanor's story, an elderly woman facing down a corporate giant to save her home and memories, captured the public's attention. Support grew rapidly, with the online community and civil rights organizations mobilizing in her defense. Media coverage brought new scrutiny to the actions of the real estate corporation, leading to a public debate about the rights of property owners and the preservation of communities. Under the spotlight, the corporation was forced to justify its actions not just to Eleanor but to a much wider and attentive audience. Eleanor's fight became a symbol of resistance against unjust expropriation and the loss of community identity. Despite significant challenges, her resilience inspired a wave of solidarity and collective action. She showed that even the voices that seem most fragile can echo powerfully when spoken together. As Eleanor's fight gained visibility, it began to have an impact far beyond what she could have imagined. The story of an elderly woman challenging a powerful real estate corporation became a catalyst for broader discussions about property rights, gentrification, and the intrinsic value of established communities. Eleanor's resistance served to unite neighborhood residents in unprecedented ways. People who previously barely knew each other now regularly gathered, sharing stories, resources, and strategies for resistance. Community bonds, weakened by modern routines and individualism, were reinforced. Shared gardens, community watch programs, and support groups sprang up, reinvigorating a sense of belonging and mutual responsibility among residents. Media coverage and social media attention broadened the discussion about real estate corporations' practices and the impact of gentrification on local communities. Discussion panels, blogs, and newspaper articles began to explore not just Eleanor's case but also similar stories from other parts of the country and the world. Experts in urban planning, civil rights, and local history were invited to contribute their perspectives, enriching the public debate with in-depth analyses and suggestions for fairer policies. Inspired by Eleanor's story, several civil rights advocacy organizations and community groups began to develop programs aimed at educating property owners about their rights. Workshops, online seminars, and informational pamphlets were distributed, aiming to equip citizens with the knowledge needed to face similar situations. Additionally, some cities began to reassess their expropriation laws and consider new regulations to protect communities against forced displacement. Faced with public pressure and the possibility of damage to its reputation, the real estate corporation began to reconsider its approaches. Although initially reluctant to change their practices, the wave of support for Eleanor and media backing forced them to seek a more constructive dialogue. They started conversations with community representatives to explore solutions that could benefit both sides, including preserving certain historical areas and including community spaces in their development projects. As spring gave way to summer, Eleanor's situation and the pressure on the real estate corporation reached a critical point. Eleanor's fight, which had captured the attention and hearts of many, was about to find its resolution. After months of tense negotiations, public debates, and the growing wave of support for her cause, Eleanor achieved a significant victory. The family-friend lawyer, Daniel, along with the support of civil rights organizations, managed to demonstrate not only the illegality of some of the tactics employed by the real estate corporation but also mobilized public opinion in favor of Eleanor. The result was a judicial decision that not only protected Eleanor's home from expropriation but also established an important precedent for future cases, reinforcing the protection of property owners' rights against large corporations. Faced with public resistance and the wear on its image, the real estate corporation committed to adopting more ethical practices. They not only withdrew from acquiring Eleanor's home but also announced a new development plan for the neighborhood. This plan included the preservation of several historical properties and the creation of green spaces and community areas open to the public. The change in the corporation's approach reflected a recognition of the social and environmental responsibilities that companies have towards the communities they operate in. They also initiated a support fund to help improve local infrastructure and offer assistance to low-income residents affected by future development projects. Eleanor's victory had a rejuvenating effect on the entire community. The mobilization around her cause strengthened bonds among residents, who began to engage more actively in local affairs. For Eleanor, the outcome of this battle was more than a legal victory. It was a journey of self-discovery and personal growth. She discovered an inner strength she was unaware of, an ability to inspire and lead an entire community in defense of their rights and their home. Eleanor also found a new sense of purpose and connection, not just with the people around her, but also with James, whose love and memory gave her strength in moments of doubt. In her home, now safe from the threat of expropriation, each room, each object, told a story of struggle, but also of love, legacy, and continuity. Eleanor's case served as a powerful reminder to the community and society at large about the importance of standing up for what is just and protecting those who are vulnerable. Eleanor's fight, though personal in its origin, became a symbol of resistance and positive change. Her story resonated beyond her community, inspiring others to defend their rights and value their stories and homes. The outcome of Eleanor Thompson's story is not just a happy ending for her own struggle, but a new beginning for her community and a point of reflection for society. It shows how individual action, supported by a united community, can provoke significant and lasting changes. If you like this exciting story, help us by leaving your like and subscribing to our channel. Until the next story.